The movie starts with a brief montage of Earth in ruins. A solar flare damaged the ozone layer 10 years ago, causing temperatures to climb to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Planet Earth has deteriorated into a mostly inhospitable wasteland, scorched by UV radiation and vulnerable to catastrophic weather phenomena. Finch, one of the few survivors, is shown at the start. He is a robotics engineer, equipped with a suit that protects him from the heat and the UV rays. Like any other day, he's scavenging for supplies with his robot Dewey. When he walks inside a store, his measurements suggest that UV radiation levels in the area are quite high. Meanwhile, the robot picks whatever is left in the store. Finch is then seen taking some dog food. After leaving, he marks the area so that he can keep track of the places that he's already scavenged. In the next scene, Finch travels through a deserted town that has been ravaged due to the ozone layer's depletion. The UV rays make it impossible for people to go outside. Hence, the majority of the city has been evacuated. Suddenly, Finch's suit emits a warning that a storm is approaching. He spins the truck around and slams on the accelerator while the giant storm chases him. Luckily, he manages to reach his underground laboratory, which was formerly owned by the firm for which he worked before the catastrophe hit. Later, we get to know that Finch is dying from tuberculosis. His dog and pal, Goodyear, is waiting for him at his big house. He hugs and kisses the dog, then prepares the food he found earlier. While Goodyear eats, Finch merely sips on a drink as the supplies are running out. Later, with the help of an AI, Finch uploads basic instructions on his new project, like how to care for a dog, how to do household chores, and so on. Since Finch loves Goodyear more than anything, he is working on creating a highly specialized robot to care for him after his death. This is sad, but it's also the first movie ever made where it's not the dog who's going to die. Finch has been conducting a lot of studies on UV rays and radiation exposure. Later, he removes Dewey's eyes and attaches them to his new robot. After turning the robot on, he starts transmitting data to it. After a lot of failed attempts to communicate, the robot finally nods its head, symbolizing that he is understanding what Finch is trying to convey. Finch is overjoyed by the reaction from the robot, and the fact that he's made it one step further. He also plays with his dog, believing that he might soon have a new friend. Finch then tells the robot to mention something about himself. The robot says that he has some rules, such as not harming humans, but the most essential rule is that in Finch's absence, he must take care of Goodyear at all costs. All of a sudden, the power goes out. Finch heads out to repair the wind turbine. He connects the cable, after which the lights are restored. Inside, the robot names himself Jeff. Meanwhile, a gigantic storm is seen coming their way. Finch comes back and connects Jeff to the weather station so he can make a forecast. Jeff says that 4 different storms will approach them in the next 24 hours, and they will not be able to avoid them. He also forecasts that it will last roughly 40 days. Hearing this, Finch believes that they have to leave the place soon. He also presumes San Francisco is their best option. Finch then starts to build the robot's full body. After finishing it, Finch increases the robot's transfer rate and starts teaching him how to walk. Following a bit of practice, Jeff successfully starts walking. While Finch is happy with the progress, Goodyear dislikes the robot and doesn't trust him at all. As the storm gets nearer, Finch starts packing all the essentials and also unplugs Jeff's data transfer at only 72%. Because of this, Jeff is not fully developed and hence acts like a child. Finch calls Dewey to join them, but forgets that he has removed his eyes. Hence, he attaches a camera so that he can finally see again. The 4 then climb into an RV and start making their way towards San Francisco. At the start of the ride, Jeff is extremely curious as he tries to learn everything that Finch does. For the time being, the group has successfully managed to evade the storm. They then stop by a deserted town. Finch wears the UV protection suit and calls Jeff to join him outside. He then starts teaching Jeff basic instructions on how to scavenge and also about the hazards of the sun. The duo also has a moment of fun when they pop some popcorn out in the sun. Yes, that's how bad the sun has become. The fun, however, soon fades away when Finch notices the storm approaching them. He gathers everyone and tries to outrun the storm, but it eventually catches up to them. Finch rushes outside with Jeff and orders him to help tie the RV with wires. After Finch gets tired, Jeff takes charge and successfully completes the task. Finch then gets inside the RV and secures it. Soon, the massive tornado hits, and all the wires begin to snap one after another until only one is remaining. Luckily, the storm passes, and everyone is fine. Finch appreciates Jeff's good work, but is disappointed to learn that the front tire of the vehicle is damaged. They have a spare tire, but do not have a jack to lift the vehicle. However, Jeff simply lifts the vehicle himself, using his sheer strength, and tells Finch to change the tire. The next morning, Jeff attempts to communicate with Goodyear, saying that he is trying to learn the dog's language. But Finch wakes up and makes him understand that it will take some time for him and Goodyear to be on good terms. Later that day, a board points out that San Francisco is 1,522 miles away. Finch is stumped when Jeff asks him to explain the notion of trust, so he just shares his own life story. He mentions how he alone solved a software problem during a project, but gave credit to the whole team. In this way, he was able to win their trust. As he tells the story, Finch's health continues to deteriorate. They then stop at a restaurant where Finch vomits blood. Realizing that he doesn't have much time left, Finch takes Goodyear inside the restaurant and starts playing with him. Meanwhile, Jeff is toying with the RV. He puts on songs while he tries to drive. Because of his clumsiness, he lets go of the handbrake, and the RV hits a car. When Finch confronts Jeff, he acts all innocent. He then reverses the RV, only to crash it again. A furious Finch demonstrates what happens to his skin when he steps into the sunlight. He then screams at Jeff, telling him that his only job is to take care of Goodyear. After they leave the restaurant, Finch decides to teach Jeff how to drive. At first, Jeff is clumsy as usual, but he soon gets the hang of it and starts driving smoothly. Finch is pleased by this, but the doggo remains skeptical. At night, they stop by the road to camp. There, the beautiful northern lights can be seen, as the ozone layer is no longer present. Jeff suggests that they could drive at night, mentioning that daylight is hazardous. However, Finch teaches him that hungry people approach at night, and it's dangerous. In the morning, Finch vomits blood, and is also shivering. Jeff takes good care of him, asking if he should call the doctor. After that, they continue their journey. When they arrive in a major city, Jeff wakes Dewey, and the duo head out to scavenge for supplies. They come across a hospital, which looks looted, but Jeff has yet to learn that, so he continues his way inside. When Finch wakes up, he discovers that both the robots are missing. He knows that trouble lies ahead, so despite being extremely weak, he suits up and sets off to find Jeff and Dewey. Someone is watching him from the shadows. Upstairs, Jeff is delighted to find food, medicine, and even a fancy jacket for himself. Meanwhile, Dewey finds some snacks, but fails to notice a bear trap near it. As he reaches for the snacks, the bear trap rips him apart. After a distraught Finch finds him, he apologizes and turns off his power. Dewey wasn't the favorite anyway. Soon, Finch hears a rumbling sound and finds Jeff as well. Finch stresses that they cannot stay in the place any longer, as it is not safe for them. Both of them then make a run for it, but Finch is barely managing to stay on his feet. When they reach their RV, they immediately speed away, but a vehicle starts following them. After traveling a distance, Finch hands over the steering to Jeff, telling him not to make any mistakes from now on. He also notices the car still following them. They turn off the headlights, as Jeff is able to see in the dark. While the mystery car still pursues them, Finch suggests Jeff to step on the accelerator and speed up. As they are driving into a storm, Finch grabs the wheel and steers it off the road. He intends to use the underpass instead. Despite Jeff trying his best to explain that the height of the RV is higher than the underpass, Finch does not listen, and eventually it crashes, and the RV's solar panels are destroyed. After the crash, Jeff uses his strength to push the RV inside. The car that was following them approaches. However, it stops for a moment and then drives away. Once he's confident that the people have gone, Finch rushes outside and discovers that all of their solar panels have been damaged. He blames himself for his poor judgment and also mentions that he cannot repair it. Jeff assures him that he can take them to San Francisco, but Finch snaps at him to stop talking. A furious Finch then returns to the vehicle while Jeff stands outside in the rain. After a little snooping, Jeff comes inside and tells Finch that he thinks they'll make it to the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Meanwhile, Finch shares another story and relates why he doesn't trust people and how he discovered Goodyear in a bag. He mentions that Goodyear was terrified and alone, and how he promised to protect him at any cost. Finch adds that hunger can turn any good human being into a killer, but it turned Finch into a coward, as he kept hiding while some young boys killed a young girl and her mother in a supermarket. The next morning, another road sign points out that it is 480 miles to San Francisco. Jeff is on the wheel, while a weak Finch rests. Suddenly, Jeff notices a butterfly on the windshield. He pulls over, awakens Finch, and points to the butterfly. Finch gets up and stretches his hand out, only to find it unaffected by the sunlight. He then steps outside and feels the sun. The UV radiation has decreased to the point where it is no longer a threat. I'm no scientist, but this seems like bullshit. He sees a flower and another butterfly and laughs heartily. As they continue their journey, they pass flowering plains. Later, Finch gets dressed, and they decide to have a picnic in the sun, something he hasn't done in over a decade. Finch then shares some more memories of his past, while wishing that he could make more of his life. Hearing this, Jeff excitedly gets up and explains that if they leave now, they will reach the Golden Gate Bridge in about 18 hours. However, Finch says that he can't make it. A saddened Jeff then promises to take care of Goodyear when he's gone. After that, Finch brings out Goodyear's ball, and the two engage in a game of fetch. He then hands the ball to Jeff and explains that this is one of the first stages in creating trust with a dog. The two then have a brief moment of fun before suddenly Finch starts coughing up blood. His white suit is now covered in blood. When Jeff asks if he can help him, Finch responds that he has already done so. He then shakes Jeff's hand and they hug. Here, Jeff is visibly upset, and we can see that he has emotions too. Jeff then assists Finch into the RV, where he lies down. Goodyear consoles Finch, while Jeff packs their belongings. Finch pats his beloved buddy on the back one more time, before passing away. The two then burn Finch on the plains, along with his UV suit. After they are done mourning, Jeff carries on Finch's daily routine, and feeds the dog. Later, they play fetch again. With Jeff, Goodyear starts to feel safe, and begins to change. Jeff also feels that Goodyear is now his responsibility, and the two set off again. He befriends Goodyear, who finally embraces him. When they finally arrive at the Golden Gate Bridge, Jeff constructs a memorial for Finch. There, they find several messages left by people for their loved ones, letting them know where they can be found. This concludes that there are more survivors, with the possibility of family members being reunited. In the final scene, Jeff sticks his drawing of Finch, Goodyear, and himself on the fence. The two of them then leave for somewhere new. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.